So, we've got the lighting rigged. Now, I didn't know that they could do this, but all the lights are now connected to an app. An app on Phoenix's phone, not mine. Stop. Stop. I didn't know you could do the ring light and all. What the? This is just what it's been like. Oh, no, I'm not putting it on. I've got shreds of dignity to maintain. Don't make the lights vaguely threatening. Duh! Oh, that's genuinely... Oh. Alright. That was genuinely shit. Right,
Yeah.
I'm putting...
You're gonna put them on.
Yes, I'm going to put them on.
Lower. Lower. So we can all see. Good shot. Yeah. There's a good one.
If you follow video games, and frankly I couldn't blame you if you don't, you might have heard of American McGee. He's the creative director of American McGee's Alice Madness Returns, an American McGee created sequel to American McGee's Alice developed by American McGee in association with American McGee and the American McGee family of American McGee products. American McGee. Oh! I always thought it weird, you know, that American McGee actually got to work on American McGee's Alice. It's one hell of a coincidence that he directed a game with the same name as his own incredibly unique moniker. Strange! Anyway, recent news suggests that lately he's more American OG than American McGee, as it appears Electronic Arts isn't interested in producing a new Alice game. And they don't much care to surrender the rights and let anybody else produce one either. Well then, that's quite shit. It's both quite shit and a little less straightforward than your typical story of a big corporation being an utter twat with intellectual property rights. While ordinarily this would be a rather cut and dry story in which we can all enjoy calling EA a shower of bastards and move on with our little lives, we've got some criticism to go around on this one, with some associated fuckery that really inspires me to turn my head like a confused dog and wonder what in the dick was going through certain minds. American McGee is an interesting fella, to say the least. His self-confidence hasn't always ingratiated himself to the game-playing public, but then again, what do you expect from someone who'd slap their name all over something they create? He once said of himself, "I want to be the next Walt Disney, only a little more wicked," which is certainly a hell of a thing to want to be, considering Disney was notoriously wicked, being an arsehole in general and a racist specifically. But seriously, whatever one may think of the guy, the Alice games were very well received and have some dedicated adherents. I can't say I ever got into the series myself, don't know why. It's just one of those things that never pinged on my radar, like Metroid or Astro Farm. My husband Phoenix, however, is a big fan of them. Unfortunately for McGee, he's never really reached that wicked Disney level he envisioned for himself. And that's all right. I wanted to be the next Elizabeth Bathory, only a little more nice, and I never got to be that either. For all its acclaim, and while it was the biggest thing American would be known for, Alice never became a powerhouse franchise, remaining comfortably in the lesser famed but nonetheless respectable realm of cult status. The developers' attempts at other productions met with some real bad luck. American McGee's Oz was cancelled due to financial problems with would-be publisher Atari, and American McGee's O-Zombie was cancelled following a lackluster performance on Kickstarter. His development studio, Spicy Horse, primarily found a home on mobile platforms with such titles as American McGee's Grimm, Dex IQ, and Crooked House.
Astro Farm, it's a very special place. Astro Farm, can't you see we're living on an asteroid in outer space?
In September 2017, Mad Dog McGee announced another crack at the Alice whip, and who can blame him given the fact that series actually worked out for him. He announced that he was working on a pitch book for a third Alice game he'd wanted to make for years, Alice Asylum. This book would detail his ideas, art, and proposed business model to be sent to rights holder Electronic Arts upon completion. This book, which was seemingly written without EA's knowledge and certainly without its approval, was funded in part via Patreon, a website where you can support such fine media as Stephanie Sterling's The Jimquisition, the Stephanie Sterling production in association with Stephanie Sterling and the Stephanie Sterling family of products. a subsidiary of Creedle and Crabnuts. Now, you might have heard the mention of crowdfunding an unapproved Alice pitch and thought to yourself, that's weird. I'd reckon you're right in thinking such a thing due to the fact that it is indeed fucking weird. Not to mention ill-advised, silly as shit, and like really, really fucking weird. Like, asking the public for funding to tell a company that you have a great idea is just wild to me. And that's coming from someone with the audacity to crowdfund this shit. Seriously though, if it were this easy to make money by randomly reaching out to entertainment companies with a pitch, there'd be thousands of baristas in Hollywood with enough money to collectively finance a mid-scale wall. I do want to stress that I'm not accusing this Patreon of being a scam or anything like that, because people on the internet love to call anything crowdfunded a scam. If a crowdfunded project fails, it was a scam. If a crowdfunded project was successful, it's a scam. It's not a scam, it's not dishonest. American McGee did say that, you know, there was every chance that EA would say no, and EA at some point was interested in some sort of pitch, so it wasn't completely pulled out of his arse. It's just a weird way of going about it. After 10 years of trying to make Alice Asylum a thing, American McGee definitively hit a brick wall. Not only would Electronic Arts refuse to make the game, it would also refuse to let American McGee have any license to make it himself. And that's that, really. With EA retaining the rights to the franchise, there's no sequel that can be made without violating trademarks. Now, while the way American McGee funded this pitch is not advisable in the least, we do indeed have to say fuck EA on this one, though admittedly that's mostly because it's fun to say and correct in every single situation and context imaginable, due to the fact it's a scumfuck corporation with the integrity of a scuffled longship. It doesn't sit well with me that you can have an idea for something and a bunch of executive wank mouths that had absolutely fuck all to do with said idea buy it and keep it forever. But that's what happens. Creative types need funding to make their ideas a reality, and unfortunately the entities with that funding tend to be shithouse corpos who'll convince said creatives to sign their rights away and hand over what's rather crudely labelled intellectual property. Like, for real, that term is actually kinda fucking slimy when you think about it, and creepy too. Just some company laying claim to what's inside your head.
Get out of my mind, liquid!
Personally, when art's made for me, I claim not ownership but a perpetual license, with the artist free to reproduce or sell the creation as they see fit, along with a profit split if we're making Jimporium merch. This is because, despite what some people might say of me, I actually compensate really fucking well for the work that's done for me. Anyway, I especially hate what I like to call IP hoarding, where companies like Electronic Arts do exactly what they're doing with Alice. Sitting on so-called intellectual property with no intention of ever doing anything with it, akin to a dragon sitting atop a mountain of hoarded gold. Just having shit to have it, and in doing so sometimes going against the very spirit of creativity by refusing the artists responsible for the art a chance to make more of that particular art. It just fucking sucks. Now, it's complicated, for sure. Trademark law is a messy beast in serious need of dramatic overhaul, and its requirements often force companies to act in restrictive ways, whether or not they necessarily want to. But considering how much they benefit by playing that shitty game, it's hardly an exoneration. This subject hits me because of how much I loved the 2003 action shooter Metal Arm's Glitch in the System. It's not the most well-remembered game in the world, but if you've followed my work for any length of time, you may have heard me mention it. It's an amusing game that I had a lot of fun and frustration with back in the day, and I'd love to see a sequel. That ain't ever gonna happen though. The intellectual property, originally owned by Sierra Entertainment, is currently in the hands of Blizzard. You know, the cunty company partnered with cuntier company Activision to form the cuntiest company Activision Blizzard. Now, the concept of IP hoarding hits home with me because in 2011 I interviewed Steve Rank, co-founder of Metal Arm's developer Swingin' Ape Studios. When I spoke to him, he revealed that they all had plans for a Metal Arms trilogy, with the story laid out and everything, but without the license, which was owned by Vivendi at the time, they couldn't do anything with those plans. Steve had attempted to acquire the Metal Arms IP from Vivendi, but despite doing absolutely nothing with it, they refused to part with it. At the very least these days you could pull the excuse out of your ass that Activision Blizzard makes a few dollars off glitch in the system every few years by selling a digital copy on Xbox Live, but Vivendi wasn't even doing that bare minimum. This is why it was never officially confirmed that Glitch was created by the Morbots and that General Corrosive is Glitch's brother, while his formerly presumed creator Exavolt was just a pawn in the Morbots' grand plan. Spoiler warning for a game that never happened. Intellectual property, licenses, trademarks. It's all a bunch of convoluted shit, and it leads to stupid things that are stupid, happening stupidly. I love to talk about the situation with the Hellraiser series, a collection of Clive Barker-inspired movies that had 2 amazing films, then a film only I like, and then a whole mass of shit except for Hellraiser 6, I think it was 6, which was actually quite an interesting take on the concept for what it was. It was the one with cowboys in it. There are 11 Hellraiser movies, including the 2022 remake, which I ain't seen yet, and the vast majority of them are fucking shit. Now, it's believed that the reason these films keep getting made despite being so friggin' awful is that they had to be made so Hellraiser's license holder wouldn't lose the rights to it. This supposedly led to the notoriously abysmal movie Hellraiser Revelations, a film that isn't even entertainingly bad. It's just shit. Just utter dog shit. Revelations is so bad that Clive Barker had to publicly disown it, and he put his name on Jericho. It's popularly held up as a fine example of Ashcan filmmaking, the concept itself being a fine example of how licensing makes silly shit happen. An Ashcan copy is media produced simply so a rights holder can say it's doing something with said rights. It's not media that's intended to be enjoyed, or even really seen. The term originated from comic books, where publishers would print a few bullshit copies of a comic featuring IP it wanted to retain, and then, essentially, put those comics right in the fucking trash. If that sounds like it goes against the spirit of what might have been intended by the idea that intellectual property has to be utilised to be retained, welcome to the inane fucking world we live in. Other films said to be Ashcan copies include the notorious unreleased Roger Corman Fantastic Four and the wonderfully titled Porky's Pimpin' Pee-wee, which was unfortunately not the crossover movie event you might be expecting.
Summertime at the beach means fun. That is, except for Pee-wee.
All right, you know what? This is serious now. I need to get laid. Cheer up, babe. There's always Porky's. I want those 2.
So when he blows a sure thing,
Get out of here!
But I didn't get to do anything.
he's determined to start a cat house of his own.
Yay! I'll supply the girls. You supply the house. No harm, no foul.
I can't believe I just said okay. We should throw a party to celebrate.
Pimpin' Pee-wee.
They filmed that one in 15 days. The ever-shifting world of license holding directly gets in the way of so much, and can imprison media for indeterminate amounts of time, sometimes forever. There are some great games based on movies that might never see a re-release thanks to movie studios that used to have the IP granting rights to game publishers that used to have the license. The Aliens franchise, for example, has had games made by Sega, Konami, and Capcom, all of whom had the license at different points in time. This seems to be why there's no digital version of the bloody excellent Aliens vs Predator arcade game, because Capcom made that, but Sega's the one with the Aliens rights. It was at one point worked out that Aliens vs Predator did come to the Capcom home arcade, one of those mini console thingers that were all the rage for a while. Though in that one's case, the price wasn't mini. Funnily enough, those involved in the making of that device actually credited moi as the reason they worked to make it even happen, because I wouldn't shut the fuck up about how Aliens vs Predator never gets fucking released. What's the lesson there? Whining sometimes works. If you take nothing else away from today's video, please walk away with that lesson. Whining sometimes works. Doesn't seem like it'll work for Alice fans though. What with EA's refusal. A refusal that just so happens to be another long-running bugbear of mine. The presumptuous claim that there's no market interest. As McGee puts it, they decided to pass on the project based on an internal analysis of the IP, market conditions, and details of the production proposal. Basically, they don't think it'll sell. Which, even if that's true, I don't see why they can't let Spicy Horse fail on its own. But it just rubs me the wrong way when publishers without actual evidence claim that games don't sell because they've been so fucking wrong about it in the past. It makes me think of things like Phil Harrison infamously claiming single-player games were dead because he wanted to justify the industry's obsession with the ever-lucrative online space. It makes me think of 2K Games' obnoxious suggestion that XCOM couldn't have a proper sequel and was stuck with crappy action games like The Bureau because strategy games don't have an audience, before The Bureau failed terribly and the eventual release of a proper XCOM strategy game was successful enough to spawn its own sequel. Too often, game executives want a thing to happen and then tell us it's what we want to happen. They never bring evidence of their claims on what will or won't be successful. They simply start with their conclusion and well, they start and end with their conclusion, because it's not like they even work back from there. They just pull a statement out their ass like fact and leave it at that. I'm not saying Alice Asylum would be successful or not. I'm not saying Alice Asylum would or wouldn't be worth whatever funding American McGee wanted for it. I'm saying I would sooner trust a rumour that Dracula can be found masturbating into Nosferatu's arse in a hidden level of vampire survivors than trust any internal review at Electronic Arts. Oh, and I'd also say you shouldn't crowdfund a notebook with an idea for a video game in it, because people will think you've gone fucking peculiar. Oh mate, you know what you should have done? You should have crowdfunded like a book, like a public book, like an actual real Alice book that was still a pitch, but there'd, you know, be something productive at the end of it. Or I don't know, just done some fucking keychains or shit. See, this is why it should have come to me first. It's why everyone should come to me first. American McGee has retired now, basically. Apparently this was just one setback too many. In the wake of EA refusing Alice Asylum, American McGee has quit game development. He has asked people to stop asking him about it, to just sort of let it go. I suppose it's a testament to the amount of love people have for that series that they won't shut up about it. So, you know, take it as a compliment, I guess. But there you go. American McGee is out. Seems like he wants to move on from Alice now. And there you go. EA can just sit on that because they might want to use it one day. And in the meantime, yeah, Alice just stays in limbo. That's it. Sad, really. Other than that, all there is to be said is thank God for me, of course. And they're looking at me again, so it's the fucking rabbit ears.
They're really good.
See, this is what happens when you work with Alice fans.
When you're cruising through the cosmos, you won't believe your eyes. There's always something new to see. When you're gliding through the galaxy, there's always a surprise. So why don't you fly with me? Astrofunk, Astrofunk, it's a very special place.